So Alexander Isak looking to force through a move out of Newcastle. Now that conjures up memories of previous times when players have looked to leave. Remember this in the summer of 1998? Nottingham Forest then striker Pierre van Hooijdonk went on strike for 11 games, upset at the club's asking price for his transfer. He returned to Forest, but they were relegated to the First Division. Now, in 1999, amid interest from Real Madrid, Nicolas Anelka said he wouldn't play for Arsenal again and didn't report for training. Well, he eventually got his move.
What do you say to the Arsenal fans, many who thought you had treated the club badly? Do you have a message for the fans you have left at Arsenal?
No, I just want to say I want to leave, and now I sign for Madrid.
Well, another protracted exit from Arsenal was Ashley Cole's in 2006. Now, he felt Arsenal had backed out on a promise on his salary, leading to a move to Chelsea. William Gallas moved in the opposite direction. Tottenham's Dimitar Berbatov refused to play in a London derby against Chelsea in 2008 to facilitate a move to Manchester United. You may remember that transfer completed on deadline day for £30 million.
You're sitting there, what do I say? It was okay in the end because Sir Alex know how to break the ice, start the conversation. But I was nervous because nothing was happening, and it was coming down to the last minute of the transfer window.
Remember this, Manchester City's Carlos Tevez submitted a transfer request and refused to warm up.
He is one bad apple. He epitomises what the man in the street thinks is wrong with modern footballers.
He can play, never.
Well, Tevez eventually apologised and, of course, returned and helped City win the title under Roberto Mancini. And no look back could ever miss out Peter Odemwingie. West Bromwich Albion striker famously drove to QPR on deadline day in 2013, expecting a transfer, which of course fell through and resulted in disciplinary action. Right, we are going to talk Alexander Isak. He's still training away from his Newcastle teammates after expressing a desire to leave St James's Park. Carve, any developments?
Well, the only developments today have been a couple of newspaper reports saying that as soon as Alexander Isak found out that he wasn't going to be invited to this family bonding day that Newcastle had at the training ground, that was the same day apparently that he moved out of his rental property in Newcastle. Now, I don't think the two events are connected at all. There have been reports that Alexander Isak moved house, didn't want to live in that rental property because it had been targeted by burglars. So I think there's always going to be stories about Alexander Isak every day. But the underlying story is that nothing much has changed. The player still wants to leave, and Newcastle United are not going to let him go unless their valuation is met. And that is a valuation that no one is willing to pay at the moment.
Carve says nothing much has changed. If it stays like that, if it continues through the window, is it more likely that come the end of the window, he's still wearing black and white?
It feels like as the days pass, that's becoming more and more likely. At this moment in time, there is no bid on the table. Newcastle rejected a bid from Liverpool in the region of around £110 million. That was about 10 days ago. There's been no movement whatsoever at this moment in time. Newcastle are only going to allow him to leave if their valuation is met. We understand their valuation is around £150 million. It's unclear whether they'll be able to get that over the course of the next few days, and if they can get a replacement lined up. And that is proving to be very difficult for Newcastle right now. They tried to sign Hugo Ekitike. He went to Liverpool. They tried to sign Benjamin Sesko. He went to Manchester United. There aren't many number nines that can come in and do anything near like what Alexander Isak has done in a Newcastle shirt right now. But Newcastle need to act quickly because heading into the first game of the Premier League season for them this weekend against Aston Villa, they have one fit striker, William Osula. They've got a huge amount of excitement and optimism for his time at Newcastle. He's got one Premier League goal. Callum Wilson departed at the end of last season. Whether or not he can be successfully reintegrated is another question, because I think there's a lot of patching up that needs to be done. Newcastle fans and the club are very unhappy with the way that Alexander Isak has carried himself and his entourage have carried themselves over the course of the last few months. He left it quite late to say that he wanted to explore his options elsewhere. A lot of bridges are going to have to be mended if he's to be reintegrated into this Newcastle side. but he's got 3 years left in his contract. He's a Newcastle player. He's contracted to Newcastle. Newcastle expects, if it comes to beyond the transfer window and he remains a Newcastle player, that he trains with the first team and he plays for Newcastle once again.
It's interesting what you say there about how his actions have been received, because his future, definitely a transfer saga, dominated the headlines throughout this summer, and the subject of what he's been up to has divided the opinion of Newcastle fans and neutrals alike.
I think I've said many times, he is contracted to us, he's our player. The club basically make the decision on his future. I don't know what that will be.
When you've got the best striker, people are going to come calling, and he's obviously been attracted by the calls that have come, and we have to understand that. As a Newcastle fan, you don't want to understand it.
And you can't say I'm never going to play for Newcastle again, because if he doesn't make that move, then he's going to want to play. Every footballer wants to play matches.
He's still one of the best strikers in the world, so I do want him here.
Alexander Isak let a lot of people down.
And that's the route he's going down, which, you know, will be hard to accept for everyone who's, a Newcastle fan.
I do genuinely think the best thing Newcastle could have done was sell Isak. You have to sell a player that doesn't want to be there, take the money and then go and reinvest that money onto players.
If he's got an opportunity to go to the champions, then it's so difficult to say no.
If he wants to go and he's heart set on going to Liverpool and Liverpool want to pay the money, then I think that deal could happen. And it'd be hard on Newcastle because they've lost out on a lot of their targets they want, but they'll be fine.
I want to see us kind of be able to rebuild that relationship.
I think the more that this goes on, it's actually causing more harm than good. Yes, if the window shuts and he doesn't go, then everyone involved in Newcastle will be delighted.
It could have been and should have been handled better. Alexander Isak could have left this summer and still been considered a legend of the club.
Everyone's got a view on Alexander Isak, but he may or may not go to Liverpool. That said, should Liverpool be targeting other areas of the pitch?
Well, they are in talks with Crystal Palace to sign the Palace captain, Marc Guehi. Now, Steve Parish, the Palace chairman, said 2 days ago that the situation regarding Guehi was very, very simple. He's only got a year left on his contract. Palace can't afford for him to leave on a free. So unless he signs a new deal, he's going to leave this summer. Now, it's very, very unlikely that he'll sign a new deal. I think Liverpool feel that he wants to move to Liverpool. They have a very, very good relationship with Steve Parish. They're doing everything by the book. That is why they're holding club-to-club talks first. Now, how much would he cost? We know last summer there was talk of him being valued at around £70 million. But now, 1 year left on his contract, I think that has dropped significantly. I think Palace probably value him at around £40 million. Liverpool probably trying to get him for around £30 or £35 million. I think it would be a very, very good move for the player himself. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, of course. He's done a fantastic job at Crystal Palace, won 2 major trophies as well. But I think when Liverpool come calling, especially the present Liverpool side, it's very, very difficult for a player to say no. If there's club-to-club agreement between Palace and Liverpool, then Liverpool would start talking to his intermediaries and his representatives about personal terms. But we have not got there yet. They need to agree a deal with Palace first. OK, we're going to talk Palace a little bit later on, and that ruling by CAS and what it might mean for transfers and others as well. Going back to Liverpool, though, chasing Isak, as I say, should they be spending more time bringing in a centre-back rather than a striker?
I think if you ask some Liverpool fans, I was at the game on Sunday, there is a feeling that they really need some more strength and depth in that centre-back area. If you look at their bench on Sunday, there weren't any centre-backs on the bench, and Arne Slot was asked about signing a defender on Friday ahead of the game, and he said that the likes of Endo and Andy Robertson could fit in there if required. They've sold Jarrod Quansah to Bayer Leverkusen, a really good fee they got for Jarrod Quansah. But it means that right now they've got the 2 centre-backs, Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate. Konate's contract expires at the end of this season, and they have a lack of options there right now. Joe Gomez seems to be injured a lot at the moment. It's a real concern for Joe Gomez. So you can understand why they need to sign a centre-back. They also understand why they need to sign an attacking player as well, because, yes, they've been really aggressive in terms of what they've gone after in this transfer window. But actually, they're one short on where they were last season with the players they brought in, the players have departed. So you can understand why But I think the centre-back is a priority because if they don't sign an attacking player, they still have the likes of Engo Moa, the 16-year-old on the left-hand side, Harvey Elliott, Ben Doak as well, and they've got options there if required. I think the centre-back area is one they really need to address. If anything happens to Virgil van Dijk or Konate, I think they're in real trouble.
And we saw what happened when they lost Virgil van Dijk a couple of seasons ago. Carve.
One other line to bring you about centre-backs and Liverpool. This is from Sky Italy, who've been reporting that Liverpool are very interested in signing possibly the best young centre-back in Europe at the moment. He plays for Parma. He's 18 years old. He's called Giovanni Leoni. He's valued at €30 million. Inter Milan also interested in him.
OK.